As you know, the final project in this class requires both a paper and a presentation. So this slideshow will discuss briefly what all should be included in the final presentation. The first thing you need is a title slide. As seen here, your title should be large and clearly visible. In addition to your title, you should have your name, the date, as well as the location or place that the presentation was given. So for example, for this presentation, I have UWP final presentation. If you were giving this at a conference, the conference name would apply here. If you're giving this for a company, the company name would be here. This tells the person who is watching this presentation where this presentation was originally given. Thinking about it in terms of citation practices, this would be part of a citation if someone wanted to use your presentation in another paper or document. They would cite this presentation by title as well as the place that it was given. The first slide after your title should be what I call a table of contents slide. This slide should tell your viewers generally what they're going to see in your presentation. This not only prepares your audience so that they can follow you through your presentation, but also it lets people who realize quickly after looking at this slide that this is not a presentation that they need on the topic they thought it was about, they can quickly stop watching or leave and move on to something else. So this initial table of contents slide serves several purposes. In the table of contents slide, you should list the things that are going to be in the subsequent slides. So, for example here, you might want to list the general claim of your paper. What is it that you found that you think is really important that people understand? You could also list some background information from secondary sources, or simply say that you're going to provide some context and put this on another slide. Then you would want to list what are some of the areas that you found specifically in your primary research that you are going to discuss and what they are. And in case of this presentation, there will also be some presentation tips towards the end of the presentation. The next few content slides should include the content that you talked about on your table of contents slide. So for example here, this would be the slide where you would discuss some information from the secondary research that you think is important for viewers to understand, to really understand the importance of the findings, or even understand the findings that you are going to be presenting from your own research. Then you would have the slides that discuss the information from your own specific research or research project. So for example, your first main idea, as listed on the table of contents slide. Your second main idea. Your third main idea. And on for however many main ideas you listed on your initial table of contents slide. This number is limited only by the number of findings in your research and the time that you have for your presentation. Perhaps you had more than 3 findings, but you find that you have a 5 to 10 minute presentation. You're not going to be able to get through more than 3 or 4 findings, so you want to make sure that you use the most important ones. If you have 10 findings and you have a longer presentation, you may include all 10 findings. But again, this is one of those decision points where you have to decide in the time that you're given, what are the most important things that your audience needs to understand based on your paper. Again, based on your paper, not read directly from your paper. So some presentation tips. The first thing to remember or understand or know is the rule of 7s. This is a fairly common rule that has developed over the 20 or 30 years that presentation software has been in use. The first, use no more than 7 words per line. More than 7 words per line, some people are going to try and read your slide rather than pay attention to you. Fewer words, fewer lines. No more than 7 words per visual. So if you have a slide that is all visual and you want to provide some kind of caption or context, again, no more than 7 words to explain each visual. If you need more than 7 words on a line, make subpoints. Only present one main point per slide. So again, 7 lines, 7 words, 1 point per slide. If you do have 1 point per slide, make sure also that you only have a maximum of 6 subpoints. Again, 7 lines per slide. Presentations are visual mediums, so remember to use visuals. Graphics, charts, images, all of these are acceptable in presentations. If you do use graphs or charts that you make in other software, make sure that you spell check all of the text within those images before you bring it into your presentation software. Most likely you will not be able to spell check that within your presentation. Use images that relate to your presentation. Your images and your presentation, your images should support your presentation or help explain or explicate a point that you are trying to make. An example that I give here usually is about a student many years ago who gave a presentation in my class on gun control. He gave a great presentation. He had interesting points. The paper that he wrote, that he based the presentation on, was excellent. However, his presentation had images simply of soccer balls and soccer paraphernalia. He had soccer balls, he had pictures of himself playing soccer, he had pictures of his favorite soccer icon. Obviously, it was a bit confusing to listen to someone speak about gun control while looking at images of soccer. When I asked him later why he chose to use those images, he told me he simply liked those images and he didn't know what else to include. So gun control and soccer really don't have anything to go together. So remember, your images need to relate to your presentation. They're not there simply because you like an image or you think that an image is cool. Remember to use images because people may forget lists or text, but they'll remember images. We're a very visual group, humans. So remember, visuals are things that we will usually take away with us and remember for much longer than we'll remember your bulleted items. Don't forget or don't overdo the graphics or use too many colors. Limit yourself to 3, maybe 4 colors, right? Try and find images that have something to do with in terms of color schemes that agree with your presentation. Don't use images that clash, for example, with colors of your presentation. Also remember with your graphics to make sure that they're clear and visual. Don't take a small graphic and enlarge it to the point that it's blurry or it's not invisible, but that it really doesn't work visually. People will spend more time concentrating on that image and trying to figure out what they're supposed to be seeing rather than focusing on the information that you're giving them. A few don'ts. Don't use funky fonts that are hard to read. Remember, not everybody has the same visual acuity on a screen, and that's especially important for this particular presentation, but presentations in general. For example, I have dyslexia. This font would be extremely difficult for me to follow. Also, don't use colors that are difficult to see. Again, different people have different reactions and different acuity when it comes to color. People are colorblind, other people have specific kind of issues with different kinds of colors. So when it comes to the colors, especially of the fonts and text in your presentations, stick to grays, blues, really strong, dominant colors. A couple of do's. Again, to reiterate, use fonts that are easy to read. Use transitions to create interest, but don't overdo it. Right? So as I've had here, transitions between the slides, transitions between bullets, those are all great. But use the simple transitions. Don't have things flying in from all over the different sides of the presentation. Don't use animations for too long. Remember, an image should be quick and memorable. It doesn't need to be used over and over again. So in conclusion, and going back to your assignment sheet, this is the last slide that should be in all of your presentations as well, a concluding slide. So in conclusion, remember, create a title slide. Include a table of contents slide to guide your presentation. Use one slide for each main point. Remember the rule of sevens. 7 lines of 7 words. Use images. Don't use weird fonts or colors. Thank you.